I'm going to talk about a subject that's near and dear to my heart: Pokemon. I'm old enough that I remember when Pokemon Red and Blue released here in America, and it was a huge deal. I spent hours upon hours battling and trading with friends, and I don't regret a single second wasted on the series. I've had in my possession every single mainline game up until the recent Ultra Sun and Moon, and I think that might well be the station I'll be stepping off at. My 3DS is in poor shape, and I can't even find the motivation to finish up my copy of Moon. And if the rumors are true, the next mainline game will probably be on Switch, and I probably won't be acquiring that for at least another 2 or 3 years, if at all. Still, as I look back at Pokemon and I consider the changes it's went through over the years, I don't think there's a single more impactful change to the series than the addition of abilities in Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, all games considered the 3rd generation. There have been other huge changes in the series for sure. The addition of Steel, Dark, and Fairy type Pokemon, hold items, Mega Evolution, Z moves, the jump to mobile gaming, the physical special split, multiple uses of TMs, the abolishment of HMs in favor of Pokeride. All of those are big, but the addition of abilities is where the series really finally grew legs. Everything up until that point felt like it was just them testing the waters, really figuring things out. I'm going to go on record here and say that the 3rd generation was my least liked generation of Pokemon. Surfing has always been one of the most annoying aspects of the franchise, at least in my opinion, and the later half of the 3rd generation of games had a lot of it. The game even required you to dive underwater. Ruby and Sapphire weren't that great, but at least Emerald had a saving grace in the form of Battle Frontier, a huge, fun endgame paradise. I don't think a Pokemon game has ever done anything nearly as ambitious in depth and breadth as Battle Frontier, and I doubt they ever will. There's really nothing in it for them to do it. That doesn't stop them from teasing us about it, though. So, what are abilities? Simply put, they're the passive potential of Pokemon that have strategic effects in and out of battle. Some of them are extremely useful or powerful, like Speed Boost, which gives your Pokemon increased speed every turn, Moxie, which increases your attack when you knock out opposing Pokemon, Huge Power, which doubles a Pokemon's attack stat. Other abilities aren't quite as exciting: Klutz, which doesn't allow the Pokemon to use held items, Runaway, which guarantees the ability to run from wild Pokemon battles, and Weak Armor, which lowers a Pokemon's defense stat in exchange for a speed increase when hit by attacks. Trust me, it's not as good as it sounds. Added to that, hidden abilities were added in the 5th generation, which meant that some Pokemon could sometimes have abilities that deviated from the norm for their species. Some of these hidden abilities were powerful enough that they completely changed some Pokemon competitively, making them more viable. So as generations came and went, abilities only grew. No other feature in the history of Pokemon had that sort of continued noteworthy, positive growth outside of their introduction. Now that I've made the case for abilities being Pokemon's biggest, most impactful change, what would I rate the other changes I listed earlier? Well, in second place would absolutely be the physical special split, which was introduced in the 4th generation. Prior to Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, whether Pokemon used the attack or special attack stat depended on the type of the move. For example, whether you used Razor Leaf or Solar Flare, both grass-type moves, your attack stat didn't matter. Both used the Pokemon's special attack stat instead. The physical special split made it so that every Pokemon move used a specific stat. Thanks to the split, now if you use Razor Leaf, it uses a Pokemon's attack stat, while Solar Beam uses the special attack stat. Needless to say, it's a pretty big change. Third place was a tough pick, but I'll have to go with Pokeride abolishing HMs. In Pokemon Sun and Moon, you're given the ability to summon various Pokemon to accomplish what HM moves did in previous games. This freed the 6th slot on your team, which traditionally went to an HM slave. What's an HM slave? Well, it's a Pokemon on your team that you catch and bring with you specifically because it could use a wide variety of HM moves like Surf or Cut. One of the most famous of these is probably Bibarel, which meant that finally you could go through a Pokemon adventure with a full party of 6 Pokemon you actually liked, and not 5 plus 1 stinker. I'd been advocating for HMs being replaced since Red and Blue. Even as a kid, I recognized that forcing you to use hidden machines was an awful game mechanic. Honorable mentions go to Mega Evolution, allowing us to use TMs as many times as we wanted, and the addition of new Pokemon typings, but I won't waste your time by explaining those things here. Odds are you're probably already a Pokemon fan and you're probably well aware of what these things mean. So, what do you think? Do you agree that abilities, and by extension hidden abilities, were the single greatest change to Pokemon as a game series? Or do you believe one of those other huge changes were bigger? Leave a comment below and tell me what you think, then hit that subscribe button for more Chunky Beef. See you next time.